early asset allocation models that the suggestion to rebalance a portfolio on that it's debatable on whatever in whatever time frame. But I think a problem some investors make is they ride something all the way up and they ride it all the way back down without rebalancing their portfolios, and that's why you need a professional, I think.
I couldn't agree with you more. Uh, you can leave money on the table. You can also get run over. Lots and lots of people who say, hey, listen, I've got a crystal ball. I don't actually manage portfolios, but I take money in and I hand them to different mutual funds in China or what have you. I'll never meet the money manager, neither will you. But we're going to trust that these guys have a track record and whatnot.
And that's
and
what
believe me, we've checked them out. They're wonderful people. If they don't do their job, we'll just move the money, and we're going to trust that they trade it well. And they put that out there as professionalism. And then '08 came. Where were they in '08? They weren't answering the phones. People's 401ks became 201ks. So yeah, there is a time to sell. And,
well, you made it. Let me say, Michael, I'm sorry. Let me one more thing here because now you got me dragged into something that I did for my real job. But you talked about your father's Oldsmobile, and I think that's an excellent point. We used to always talk to our clients about relative performance. Everybody wants to hit a home run. Not everybody, but a lot of people want to hit a home run. And I used to use the analogy of Babe Ruth. At the time, and for a lot of years, he had the home run record for knocking it out of the park. But what people don't remember, unless they're baseball aficionados, is he also held strikeout records. And I think that to your point and to mine, instead of swinging for the fence, let's hit a lot of singles, doubles and triples, and an occasional home run. And those are the folks that win over the long run.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And the Babe Ruth analogy is perfect. And not many people remember that. Let me speak to metals, defense, energy, and food this way. If you're looking around the world right now at demand, and I'm a big demand guy, I look for demand, real demand. Demand, we were misled in school in Echo 101 where it's supply and demand. It's not supply and demand, it's demand and supply. Without demand, there would be no supply. So it's underlying demand you have to look for. Right now, many people aren't aware that Alan Greenspan came out the other day. He made two very, very important comments. He said, number one, gold is money. Now, I'm not a gold bug. I want to say that right now, but for Alan Greenspan to come out and say gold is really money was earth-shattering because he had said it wasn't money for his entire term as Fed chairman. The other thing he said was worldwide demand is dead in the water. Now, if you look at what's going on in the European Union, if you look what we're doing to Russia vis-a-vis lower oil prices and what the Saudis are doing to us and our whole underlying fracking university, if you look at the way Venezuela is dying on the vine, Iran is now dying on the vine with lower oil prices. You think that would be good for the economy, but we're teetering on the verge of another banking crisis. You looked at, when I do my talks, I talk about demand and watch for demand and things like Ford and Tiffany's and McDonald's. And I use those because they are non-discretionary money. I mean, or discretionary money rather. You don't need them. So what we find is McDonald's had their worst earnings report in 10 years. Tiffany missed by a mile. And so what we're watching is the rotation of capital in the market, going from the things that are unnecessary to the things that are necessary. So all we need in this tinderbox here is somebody to pull a trigger somewhere, and then you're going to watch part of that 18 to 20 trillion in investing capital that's in the United States shift over to the things that are essential, which are metals, defense, energy, and food. That's what I do. That's what I see happening in the world. That's what I see everybody fighting over, and eventually, that's where the money is going to be made.
Well, that's an incredibly interesting point, obviously. And one of the things when talking to you, Jeffrey, my focus tends to be domestically related, just because I think it might just be because I understand it better. But I know based on what you're doing, you obviously keep a lot of eye out on what's going internationally. In fact, this morning, you made mention to me something I hadn't heard of before, and maybe you can kind of bring it up just for the sake of the benefit of our listeners, about what Iran said today about Saudi Arabia. I mean, you mentioned it to me. I haven't had, frankly, time to look into it at all. What's going on with Iran and Saudi Arabia?
It's, thanks for asking. It's best to be understood this way. Lower oil prices around the globe are hurting the producers more than they're hurting the consumers. That's a given. The major producers are OPEC, of course, but Russia, Iran, Venezuela, Mexico. These are very socialistic states. These are states that rely mostly on their oil to feed their people and subsidize everything from diapers to, housing. You've got Iran, which, and if your listeners don't know this, the Iran-Iraq war that was fought in the 80s was fought. Actually, Iran wanted to attack the Saudi royal family. This was their caliphate. It was Ayatollah Khomeini coming back from a 20-year stint in France, from his penthouse in France. After the Shah was deposed, he came in and instituted Sharia law, and the first thing he wanted to do was institute Sharia law everywhere in the Middle East and take over all the oil companies, or all the oil producers. His eye and the goal was always the Saudi royal family, always. The unfortunate thing was Iraq was geographically in the way. And since Saddam Hussein was a Sunni, just like the Saudi royal family, he had to go too. And the Ayatollah Khomeini made that statement. Saddam Hussein, for those who remember, said, you don't have to wait to declare war on us, pal. We're there. And Saddam Hussein attacked Iran. And that was the Iran-Iraq war. And the United States backed Iraq in that, of course. And the Saudis are now looking to arm to the teeth, and they have spent billions and billions and billions this year and last year and the year before in building up their army and their navy in anticipation of another conflict. The reason that is all important, and the reason that I sent you that note this morning, was that Iran made the statement today, or this morning rather, that this drive down in energy prices is on purpose by the Saudi royal family, and they're taking it very personally, and the word treacherous was used, or treachery. This was treachery by the Saudis. Iran could put 1 million men into Israel, or Iraq, or Saudi Arabia. They're just waiting on being ordered. So that is just one of the issues. So what we have here in the entire energy complex, as it were, in the world, is what everybody thinks is a glut and oversupply, lowering demand to boot. So we have lower demand, we've got way too much oil, and oil, last I looked a couple of minutes ago, was around $60. It hasn't been this low in a long time. And what they're doing is they're cramming, the Saudis are cramming the price down to put everybody out of business, except them, because they can actually afford this. And then the bounce back will be much greater. Now, for those who have been watching OPEC since its birth in the early 60s, they have cut supply and cut supply and cut supply. That was their MO. If they wanted the price up, they cut supply. And everybody would freak and run the price up, and they would just turn the pumps back on. They realized that not only won't that work now, because the United States is producing, but also there's a huge ecological push to drive demand down. So what do they do now? They do the exact opposite. They drive the price down. They put everybody out of business. And just like every other time that they cut supply, the price went up. The price went over what it did before and settled higher. And the same thing will happen this time. So we're
all right. So
50. We may go to 55 or 50, but we'll end up over 100 when this is over.
Well, I guess that's a part of what I was going to ask. And again, I want to bring it down to kind of the average guy out there, who's thrilled to death every time he sees gas prices go down a dime. given, listen, the Saudis have tried to control the world oil market as long as I can remember. Maybe two-parter. I mean, what impact do you think? And listen, I mean, there's no question that the entire Middle East is in turmoil right now. I mean, some places greater than others, but the threat of ISIS, the threat of taking over Iranian oil and everything else. What's your thought about how much and for how long ISIS may what impact it has on the economy of the Middle East? And let me be honest, the economy is oil. They have one product by and large. And then short term, midterm, long term, what do you think is going to happen to the price of oil?
All right, let me answer it this way. It's best to answer it from the standpoint of inflation. What we're doing right now with driving oil prices down is an incredibly inflationary thing to other currencies. So let's just take Russia, for example. Russia's ruble has dropped 40%, which means their cost of goods has gone up 40%, minimum. And the cost of food has gone up more than that. So now the average Muscovite is deciding whether they're going to pay for heat or they're going to feed themselves. You can extrapolate that situation on any other country you want. Those countries will only allow that for so long before there will be a major effort to cut supply. Now that may turn into the Russians turning off the pipes sometime soon or sometime in the dead of winter to Eastern Europe and to Europe in general, or there may be some kind of military conflict. And that's what everybody is worried about, is the military conflict, because that would be prolonged as opposed to just turning the pumps off and letting the price rise. What do I see? I see everybody who says that the oil is gone and we'll never see $100 oil again, and this is just wonderful for the whole world. I look at them and I think, how you missed all the classes, pal.
Exactly.
There are trillions of dollars in derivatives at risk here. There are trillions of dollars worldwide in banking loans that have gone out at oil at 95, 90, 85. All those loans are going to go bust, and we're going to have another banking crisis if oil does not rise. So it's in everybody's best interest economically for oil to go back up.
What's a good level? What's a good sustainable level?
Well, the Saudis were happy at 100. You've got Russia at 105. Their budget is based on 105. Venezuela doesn't fit into this really, because their break even is 168. That's how crazy they are. But it's somewhere around 100. So we were at 100 for a while. We hit 148 for a couple of weeks or a couple of days in June 08. It fell all the way to 38, and then it settled at 100. Now, so the next time, when it rises again, it will be over 100. That is their game plan. That's the game plan that they've been playing for the last almost 50 years.
Well, since I've been excited the last couple of weeks putting 91 octane into my car less than $3, it sounds like there's not a lot of time left on that one.
Well, it's nice. It really is. Here in Southern California, I saw 279 last night for the first time since I've been in California, and I look at that and I think, okay, how many bank loans how many employees are going to get cut? How many countries or companies are going to go under because of this? Because everybody's business plan was set at a higher level.
Yeah, there are a lot of unintended and unforeseen consequences. Hey, Jeffrey, we are out of time, brother. Thank you so much. Folks, if you're interested in more in what Jeffrey's doing, his website is rampartportfolios.com. This is Michael Hausum. Thank you for listening. We'll be right back after the break.
This is Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for December 10th. The man behind Obamacare, Jonathan Gruber, testified before the House